Everything's tied up now, Mr. Raphael. Nothing outstanding.
Oh, well... Only one thing.
I double-checked. I was sure.
Only Michael.
Michael?
My son. Do you believe in fate, Miss Garrett? Of course. Nemesis. You ready?
Yes, Mr. Raphael.
We got a web to weave.
Well, Lionel, I don't know what to say that might be of any comfort. Perhaps it's all for the best. So many marriages end disastrously these days. Well, I'm sure you tried very hard, dear.
Well, of course, Aunt Jane. I have.
Well, I just wonder if it wouldn't have been better to stayed at home and seen it through.
I tried to stay at home.
I'm sorry?
Celia changed all the locks. She locked me out.
Oh, poor Lionel. Well, you have been in the wars. Well, I hope the contrast won't be too much for you. St. Mary Mead is really very...
Yes, quite.
You were the bloody nurse for a moment. The angels.
They've accepted.
And the brochure to the temple.
Yes. The professor has accepted, and the airplane tickets are on their way to the Archdeacon.
God. It's up to her now. Thousands of years ago, she had a measuring rod, a sword, and a whip. It's called a scourge. She rode about in a chariot drawn by griffins. Nemesis. The last time I saw her, she was wearing a pink woolly shawl. You leave that with me.
Yes, Mr. Raphael.
Thank you. Don't you stand up!
Oh! Oh, poor Mr. Raphael. Someone I once knew has died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not an uncommon occurrence at my age, but oh, Mr. Raphael was so full of life.
Do you mean Raphael the millionaire?
Yes. Now, I once helped him to prevent a murder. He called me Nemesis.
Jason Raphael, self-made millionaire in his private paradise on the island of La Rochefort. Jason Raphael died on Tuesday after a short illness.
He was a valued client, Schuster. He was an old rogue, Broadwood. And he still is a client.
Yes, he keeps us busy. And beyond the grave.
He does.
Poor Lionel. I know you've nowhere to go, but aren't you most dreadfully bored?
Not at all, no. No, I like it. I mean, I'm not... No, it's just that I'm very conventional. I like peace and quiet and, well, boredom. No, I'm fine. I'm perfectly,
Oh, a letter from Mr. Raphael's solicitors. How strange. How very strange.
Marmalade. Jane?
This is perplexing.
What is the letter?
Mr. Raphael wants me to investigate something I can only take as being a... But he tells me nothing about it. What kind of crime, if it was a crime, and when it was committed, where, anything. I'm most bewildered. It's like being asked to do a crossword puzzle without any clues.
Well, must be something else. I mean, there must be something.
Oh, there is, yes. I'm to go and see a solicitor.
I wonder what she'll be like.
She's elderly, so she'll be punctual. Ah.
I must say, Schuster, I feel a little embarrassed. How much are we supposed to reveal?
The basic facts, if asked.
Yes, indeed. It makes it very awkward. Mr. Raphael was always such a difficult client.
A coach tour?
I'm afraid so. That is to say, yes. I'm a little embarrassed, Miss Marple, in that I have so little to tell you. I have 2 tickets for this particular tour to be put at your disposal. The second is in case you would like to take a companion.
Thank you. Yes, I see, yes.
The financial reward will be yours when you've completed your investigation to your own satisfaction, or at the end of a year, unconditionally.
Yes, but this is a little awkward. How shall I know if I've been successful?
Well, we're advised that you'll know you've been successful when you've been successful.
Yes, yes, I see. I see how that could be, yes.
I think, Broadrib, the dear lady might like to know how much the reward amounts to.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you, Schuster. £20,000.
That is a very large sum of money.
But not as large as it used to be.
Oh. Well, partridges.
Madam.
Partridges are very difficult to get down, rather expensive. I think I should enjoy a partridge all to myself, and perhaps some marron glacé. Yes. Tell me, didn't Mr. Raphael have a son, Michael?
Yes, rather delicate matter, that.
I'm afraid there was an estrangement between him and his father. He was a scandal.
A scandal, you say?
Yes, a nasty business. He was suspected of being involved in a murder.
And when was this?
Oh, a number of years now.
How many?
Broadrib? 7 or 8?
And are you in touch with Michael Raphael now?
No. After the scandal, we understand he went abroad for some years, and after he returned to this country, we heard he was living among the homeless.
Oh, dear, dear.
Tramps and down and outs and so on. But all intents and purposes, he's disappeared.
Well, could he be dead?
He could be, yes. He's not been declared dead.
Now, may I impose on you both?
But, madam...
I should like to know the exact circumstances of this murder. Perhaps you could follow the itinerary and write to me at one of these places, could you?
Yes, of course, Miss Marple.
Yes.
So you will go on the tour?
That is what Mr. Raphael intended.
And a companion?
Yes. Yes, I think I shall take a companion.
Hello, Miss Marple. It is Miss Marple, isn't it? Hello, Miss Marple. I'm Madge. How do you do? And you must be Mr. How do you do? Peel. Absolutely. Well done, Madge. Good. Now, I've been told to look after you, Miss Marple, like the crown jewels. Strict instructions. Let me show you to your seats.
2 and 3, please.
There you are.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's right between the wheels, so it's the most comfortable seat. Wonder where Mr. Bell is. Right, thank you. Now, I do hope you'll both be very comfortable. And of course, if there's anything, well, I'm sure you'll... Right, well... your fellow passengers. We find it helps to break the ice, you know.
Thank you.
Well, I'll be off now. Thanks. Right, bye.
Helpful girl.
Yes.
Oh, that woman looks familiar. What do you think, Lionel?
Yeah, she stands out, doesn't she? Rather academic. An archaeologist, perhaps, digging up the Near East.
Of course, Miss Temple, Elizabeth Temple. She was headmistress of St. Agnes.
Ah. Ah.
Yes. I read an account of her retirement last summer. Oh, well, how lucky we are.
Well, congratulations, Aunt Jane. Elizabeth Temple, quite right.
And who's that, I wonder?
There's a Professor Wanstead listed.
Really?
Doesn't say what of. Professor, rather.
This is turning into a very distinguished gathering.
I imagine you knitting headscarves and that sort of thing. If that's what you prefer to go on doing, that's your decision. But if you prefer to serve the cause of justice, I hope you find it interesting. Do you remember this? Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an everlasting stream.
magnificent. Hematocalyx fulva. Oh, I can never get mine to look like that.
Oh, I expect you could, you know. Tell them to cheer up or be dug up.
Oh, poor Lionel, I'm afraid this is very boring for you.
Oh, not at all, Aunt Jane. This is new experience for me. Life at St. Faith's, you know, it isn't exactly the Boulevard des Anglais. Look here, you're not too tired, are you?
Well, do you know, I believe I am a little. You know, I think I saw a seat somewhere over there. I think I shall sit down and have a little rest.
I'll get you an ice cream cornet.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I'm not surprised. I'm fairly shattered myself. Have you come to see the houses or the gardens? Declare yourself. Horticulturalist or historian?
A vanilla cornet, Aunt Jane. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Excuse me.
Here we are, Aunt Jane.
Because it's 10 seasons, so it's a possibility.
Oh, it's most interesting. You all seem to like the same places. Oh.
May I join you both?
Oh, please do.
Thank you.
Well, I think I should feel a little presumptuous.
Oh, please.
Well, Aunt Jane... Well, no, I mean, we both did, actually, oddly enough, but Aunt Jane meant... It was one of her little ideas, you know.
Well, what we were wondering was whether you might not be on some sort of pilgrimage. You remind me so much of Mrs. Jameson, who came all the way from Cheshire once to St. Mary Mead to look at the church.
The church? From Cheshire? Well, it's all right, as churches go, but... Cheshire?
No, well, the point being that Mrs. Jameson had been very happy in St. Mary Mead a long time ago. Are you on a pilgrimage?
Yes, you're right.
Really? In what way? I mean, are you visiting an actual shrine? Or...
Abydusis used to be an old stamping ground of mine. I'm looking for an explanation of something that's puzzled me for years.
So you chose a tour?
Yes. A brochure landed on my doormat a week or so ago, and Abydusis was mentioned on the itinerary. It seemed like fate was giving me a nudge. I must say I didn't expect congenial company as well.
Your father's will is a somewhat complex document.
I don't care if it's a 3-volume novel, Mr. Broadrib. I want to hear it.
Very well, then.
Ah, Miss Wimpole.
That's not really Mr. Raphael's son, is it?
I'm afraid it is. Would you make a cup of tea, Miss Wimpole? This may take some time.
As previously ordained.
That bit. In English. In the vernacular. What does it mean?
It means that you inherit £2 million and various...
If?
Always providing that...
Don't give me the jargon, Broadrib. If.
If you agree to live in the home that your father made over to you at the time of your engagement, Raphael House, Abiduces, you are to maintain both it and...
That's the only way I get it.
Mr. Raphael, it is one of the finest houses in England.
Is it the only way?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Otherwise, nothing.
You met, I take it, with a negative.
As you saw.
I have the details Miss Marple requested. We'll put them in this afternoon's post. To, Starleton.
I had the tour as a gift. All expenses paid by a friend. Have you heard of Jason Raphael?
He was the friend?
Yes. Yes, it was in his will.
How strange. Yes, I've heard of him. He contributed once or twice to educational projects. He had a son, you know.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know, yes.
One of my pupils, Verity. She was a shining girl. Not academically bright, nor was she very attractive, not showily attractive. Not clever, not athletic. She was an orphan. She had no money, no home. Yet there was something in her nature.
Perhaps it was goodness.
You believe in such things?
Oh, yes, yes. I believe in evil, in everlasting life, and, oh, yes, goodness. Yes.
Perhaps. Perhaps it was goodness.
And what happened to her?
She was engaged to Mr. Raphael's son, Michael Raphael.
But she didn't marry him?
No.
Why not?
Whether she would have in the end, I don't know. She died before she could.
She died? How?
She was killed.
But why?
Love? I don't know. Love, I think. Love.
Oh, look, I think it's clearing up a little.
Anything about the professor?
No, but our little tour seems a surprising choice for a man like that.
I agree.
Yes. You happen to know what he is professor of?
Yes. Criminal psychology.
Really? Well, well.
Thank you, Madge.
Hello, Mr. Peel. I'd like to... Excuse me, Miss Marple.
Oh, yes.
Miss Temple said that Verity Hunt died of love.
Yes.
Broadrib and Schuster say here that she was murdered.
Well, how on earth do they know that?
Because the man arrested for her murder was Mr. Raphael's son, Michael.
Where are you from?
I said you shouldn't do it.
Where are you from?
Leave the poor sod alone, eh?
Can't stay here, obstructing a thoroughfare for rats.
Leave him.
Where are you from?
I come from Tipperary.
Leave him to me.
Make sure you move him.
Verity Hunt's body was found in a ditch 10 miles from Abydusis. Michael Raphael and the girl were lovers. Was that the love Miss Temple was talking about, I wonder?
Ah, I see what you... Love in death and all that. Was Michael Raphael found guilty?
No. He was arrested, as I say, but was never brought to trial. That seems to me very significant in the circumstances.
Oh. I see. You mean you can't be tried for a crime of which you've been acquitted?
Exactly.
So Michael Raphael could still be tried for the murder of this girl?
Exactly. Abydusis tomorrow.
I'll book us in and so forth, Mr.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this the historic tour?
Historic homes and gardens, absolutely.
Excellent. I'm looking for a Miss Jane Marple.
Ah.
Oh, well, I'm her godson, as a matter of... perhaps I could...
Oh, yes, thank you. I was hoping very much, you see, that she'd come and stay with us. Hotels are so dreary, aren't they?
Well, she's just in the lounge.
Oh, thank you. Right, now who's next?
I'm Lavinia Glynn, by the way. My sisters and I have the old manor house over the way.
Ah.
Anyway, we heard Miss Marple was coming, do you see?
Heard she was coming?
Yes. We have a mutual friend, it seems, Mr. Raphael. He wrote to us before he died, asked us to cosset her when she came, told us the dates and everything.
Well, that's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, he seems to have planned it down to the last...
Oh, he was a great planner, Mr. Raphael. Well, he was a tycoon, wasn't he? Anyway, we were wondering whether she'd like to come and stay with us for a couple of nights.
Oh, yes, well, I'm sure she'd love to. Love to. She's not ultra keen on... as a matter of fact, she finds them a bit impersonal. Mind you, that's what I like about them. And getting your shoes polished, of course. But she doesn't.
Good. Good, I'm so pleased. Mr. Raphael didn't tell us a man was coming. Perhaps...
No, it was a last-minute decision, really. Aunt Jane thought it'd be good for me. Never mind. Oh, I see what you mean. No, well, actually, I'm terribly, would you think me very unsociable if I opted to stay on here at the hotel? There's an old professor on the tour who rather relies on me.
Of course, not at all. No, no, of course you must.
Let's break the good news to Aunt Jane.
Yes.
What is it? She's going to stay with friends of Raphael.
Aunt Jane!
Aunt Jane?
Oh, Lionel, dear, yes, yes. Oh, I do wish I were cleverer.
What's this, Aunt Jane?
There's something going on, and I don't know what it is. I know it's there, but I can't work it out.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm being confided in, and I'm also being watched. Have I enemies? Or are they friends? Lionel, dear, the more I think about this problem Mr. Raphael has set us, the more I feel sure it has to do with his son. Now, I want you to inquire about Michael Raphael everywhere you go. Everywhere. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I'll have a go, I'll ask.
Well, that'll be a great, yes.
You know, perhaps you should stay on here at the hotel, after all.
Oh, no, no. Mr. Raphael intended me to go to the manor house, and that's where I'm going.
Meet my sisters.
Only one, I'm afraid. Hello. Clotilde Bradbury Scott. Anthea's barging around in the garden somewhere, a dreamer. Garden's where she dreams. How do you do?
Oh, how do you do?
Here she is.
Oh, Miss Marple, hello. How lovely of you to come. How gorgeous. Hello. I'm Anthea.
Oh, how do you do?
Well, if you'd like to sign there, sir. That's it. No, that Raphael fella was a rotten egg, whatever they do say. Law couldn't pin nothing on him, well, that don't give him his innocence. Well, thank you, sir. And your driving license number there, sir.
Oh, yes. Yes, I heard he was a bit of a... Still, I mean, if you're young and you've got money, it must be a terrific temptation. I mean, I'm not exactly young, and if I had money...
We reckon he got away with murder.
Ah.
Had a dirty reputation before that, and a manner wasn't welcome. Anyway, he did go. We saw to that. Here we are, sir. There we are, sir. Well, pleasant driving.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did rid ourselves of that Raphael feller.
How did you manage that?
Oh, there's some creatures as you do smoke out. Some as you put salt on their tails. With your fellow creatures, you just tell them, don't you?
Ah, Mr. Peel, do you know where I'll find your aunt?
Ah, well, as a matter of fact, she's been invited to stay at the old manor house.
Oh. She didn't say she knew the Bradbury Scotts.
No, she didn't, actually. It was another of the post-mortem arrangements. Mr. Raphael arranged it. It's amazing. I'm counting on him to plan next term's timetable for me. It was Mr. Raphael who knew the Bradbury Scotts.
I see.
Aunt Jane's coming to the hotel on Saturday, if you want to see her.
Oh, yes, thank you. I see.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. No, I only moved back here a few years ago, when Alistair died. It seemed the thing to do to join the girls.
We're a local institution.
I think we are. Always have been. There go the Bradbury Scott girls in full sail. Do you remember? We went everywhere together before I was married. The toast of the county.
Oh, we were so... just like the Wyndham sisters. Now we're just the bat-eared dears who live in a ruin.
Speak for yourself, Anthea, dear. I see it somewhat differently. My library...
It is a ruin. Bits of it keep falling down. Look at the bakery, the stables, the old laundry house. Everything's decaying. It's horrible. Rats, damp, worms. There are spiders in every corner.
Anthea.
My library is my life work, really. I've made a collection of local history, cultural and social history and so on. People write to Tilly from all over the world. It gives me something to do.
What do you dream of in your library, Clotilde, dear? What comes to you when you're sitting by the fire? Who comes to you? Just Daddy?
Girls. Girls, come. Come, our life is very rich, very blessed. What are your plans, Miss Marple? We'd be delighted to show you round. Anthea and I, Clotilde has her work, of course, but we could. Our church is rather splendid. And there are lots of nooks and crannies round about.
Oh, thank you very much. But my godson is to be my chauffeur. He's hired a car from a garage in Abidusis.
Well, if we can help in any way. Some of the houses round here are quite superb. Raphael House used to be lovely.
Raphael House? Ah, Mr. Raphael?
Oh, yes, indeed.
But he lived here. I had no idea.
Oh, absolutely, until that sweet little wife of his died. Then he went back to London. The place has got quite a history, hasn't it, Tilly?
Yes, it has. It was built in the 18th century by a family who made a vast fortune out of the fur and timber trade. It was quite run down when Mr. Raphael bought it, but he restored it magnificently. His son lived in it for a while, but does so no longer.
So Mr. Raphael lived in Abidusis. I should have guessed. Did you know his son?
A bad lot. Conventional wisdom nowadays seems to be that young men ought to be a bit wild, and it's they who turn out right in the end. Well, Michael Raphael started bad and continued worse.
Will you excuse me? There's a book I have to get back to the public library in Kingminster this week. I must finish it.
Of course.
I'm so glad you were able to come, Miss Marple.
Yes. Perhaps I shouldn't. But Clotilde mentioned him first.
Do you know, I really think I ought to go and see if Mrs. Adams has fed Tenzing. I think she takes that fish home for her own wretched mug. It's so lovely to have you here, Miss Marple.
My poor sisters. What you have to understand, Miss Marple, is that my sister's relationship with Jason Raphael wasn't simply that of good friends and neighbors. They were united by grief.
How?
They both lost children.
But Michael Raphael was his only child, and
Jason Raphael lost Michael, just as surely as my sisters lost Verity.
Verity?
Verity Hunt. The girl Michael was involved with. The one who was killed. My sisters were Verity's guardians, Miss Marple.
You've got a flair for evil. That's what. A nose for it.
Oh, have I indeed? Well, I wish it would manifest itself.
May I?
Oh, yes, of course.
I believe your aunt and I may share a common interest, Mr. Peel.
Really?
Clotilde and Anthea Bradbury Scott were Verity Hunt's guardians, you know.
Ah, I see. Were they?
It's so difficult to know what to do for the best. You have a car, don't you, Mr. Peel?
I'm sorry?
I saw you parking a car.
Oh, it's his car. Yes, yes, I have.
I wonder if I may impose upon you. How would you describe that, Mr. Peel? Apart from being beautiful.
A mansion under English skies. Beautiful as a wreck of paradise. It looks as though Prince Charming ought to turn up and wake it with a kiss, don't you think?
Quite. Quite so. Do you believe in the spirit of place?
Oh, the jolly old genius loci, eh? Well, it's a vexed subject, but... Yes, I do, personally, as it happens. Yes. Where are we, by the way?
Raphael House.
Really? No, I was about to say that I feel that this could be a very happy place.
Oh, I agree. Oh, yes, I fear I agree.
This was the tennis court. Every Sunday afternoon. Weather permitting. We were quite famous for our tennis parties. Yes. Tilly was a terrific server. That briar patch was old Bourbon roses once. And over there... Oh, Lord, the nymphs are departed. I don't know why I'm doing this. It makes me so sad. The greenhouse.
Oh, yes. Polygonum Bolshevicum. Very fine example.
Is it? Clotilde planted it. Certainly taken over.
Would you like a shake, Fallout?
No. Thank you very much. There's a letter I'm afraid I must write. I've, decided to write. Yes.
Raphael House, eh? They do say as it be haunted. I won't be a moment, sir. I left yours to last as I thought you was going out. No, they do say the girl do walk abroad at Raphael House.
Girl?
The girl was murdered by that Raphael boy. Mad as a hatter, of course, but that's what makes them do it. There were others.
Others?
Oh, yes. Nora Brent, for one. She disappeared. My Aunt Irene said she saw her in Blackpool, but she's blind as a mole and thick as slurry. Some of the girls say she's gone off to America. That's only 'cause she was always going to flicks. No. What I say is Raphael done her in. He should have hanged for the other girl, that Verity Hunt. But the rich can do anything, can't they? Still, we didn't like him being round. He got the message in the end. And good riddance. There, sir, that's you done. You'll be going off tomorrow, will you, sir? To the castle at Kingminster? On your little tour?
Kingminster, no, I've promised my aunt the local churches tomorrow, actually. She thought the castle might be a bit much for her.
Right you are then, sir.
That's fine. Bye-bye.
Can this go by hand, do you think?
Yes, of course, madam.
Yes, sir. Kingminster. Return. And a dog.
£1, 7 and 6p, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, hello, Miss Temple. Well done. How's the stiffness today, Mr. McLaren Ross?
Oh, much better, thank you.
You look so much better. Well done.
Morning.
Oh, Professor. Terrific. Gosh, you are game. What sensible shoes. Anyone see Miss Cook and her chum?
No.
Oh, Lord.
Well? Oh, St. Peter's first, I think. I assumed the girl was buried there.
The windows were enlarged in 1340, and the stained glass tells the story of the family through the ages. If we could move on now, ladies and gentlemen, through there and up the stairs, we'll come to the library.
What are you looking for here, Aunt Jane?
I wish I knew, Lionel, dear. Come along.
Now, the Gallery Library was designed by James Wyatt in 1790, and the gallery is graced by statues of the greatest of the English poets. They're all done life-size, except that of Shakespeare, who is done bigger as befits his status as a literary giant. The glass cases contain manuscript poems, letters, autographs, and incunabula. Now, if we could move on through the doors over there and down the stairs, we'll find ourselves in the dining room. Thank you. Right, come on, Gag.
And I am re-begot of absence, darkness, death, things which are not.
On the wall.
Oh my God.
What's her name?
Her name? Temple, Elizabeth Temple. CBE, I think. Oh, God, how dreadful. Oh, God.
Oh, excuse me.
Really bad.
Come and sit down.
This way, sir.
Officer Professor Wanstead, Home Office.
Ah, yes, sir.
He had a cloth cap on, tweed or something, and a rather garish sweater. I saw him very briefly.
Oh, understood, sir.
If you want me, I'm staying at the Golden Boar, Abbey Deuces.
Very good, Professor. I hope the news from the infirmary will be...
Quiet.
Ah, there she is.
Did you get what you wanted? I saved you an eclair, old thing.
That's the professor from that tour party, isn't it?
Golly, what did they do? That one's with the tourists as well.
No.
What on earth's going on?
A very plain stone for someone who's been loved as much as she has. Don't you think? Yes.
Here we are, Aunt Jane. Should be quiet enough up here. Would you like me to fetch you a cup of coffee?
No, thank you. Listen. I heard that when we were in the church. Well.
Ah, Professor Wanstead. Hello.
I've got some bad news, I'm afraid. Miss Temple has been seriously injured.
Miss Temple? What do you mean, seriously?
She hasn't recovered consciousness yet. The answer is we don't know. I don't think she'll live.
You said it could have been an accident, Professor. Does that suggest the possibility that it was not?
Possibly not. A stone statue fell from the gallery. I saw a man. He was wearing a cloth cap and a brightly coloured pullover. Hardly the sort of thing you'd wear if... well...
No. Not unless you wanted to be conspicuous. Oh, ghosts, ghosts. Mr. Raphael is a ghostly puppet master, jerking us this way and that, setting us puzzles and laughing at us from beyond the grave. Oh, I'm sorry, Professor. You can hardly know what I'm talking about.
I have to confess I do, I'm afraid. I, too, am one of Mr. Raphael's puppets, Miss Marple. Before Mr. Raphael died, I received a summons to come on this tour.
Ah!
Sorry?
Nothing. Sorry. Please.
Yes, anyway. As far as I can tell, I was to remain in the shadows, a sort of supernumerary player, in case, well, anyway, you've been in good hands.
But what was your own interest in this affair, Professor? Mr. Raphael's other puppets were involved, it seems.
I'm a psychologist. I specialize in criminal psychology. I've been attached to the Home Office for some years now. I assessed Mr. Raphael's son, Michael, when he was first arrested. There seemed every likelihood then that he'd be charged with murder.
And was he insane?
No.
No.
Tell me, Miss Marple, may I ask what you've discovered so far?
So far, it just concerns a murdered girl, that's all, really. Verity Hunt. Miss Temple taught her, the Bradbury Scotts were her guardians, and Mr. Raphael's son, Michael, was engaged to be married to her. But the most significant fact of all was that Verity Hunt was loved. Miss Temple hinted that she died because she was loved. Oh, I do wish Miss Temple had said more. You don't think she said more to anyone else, I suppose?
Well, she wrote a letter. Well, she said she was going to, and as far as I can remember, I got the impression she didn't want to write it. It was going to be a bit of a pig.
Yes, yes, it would be. What did she know? Whom did she know, I wonder? To me, Professor, that Miss Temple was not a woman to waste her time. She must have thought that someone here in Abbeduces was going to tell her something. Either that person was her attacker, or else.
Or else what, Audrey?
Or there is somebody else in this business. Somebody we know nothing about. Oh. Oh.
I think we should look at that. Telephone message from Mrs. H. Oldcastle. Archdeacon Brabazon left this address 4 or 5 years ago. Well, that's certainly somebody I know nothing about.
No, indeed. An archdeacon.
No, I'm sorry. I've got a very bad line. I can hardly hear you.
Hello, Butlers, wrong way. Colonel Walker! No, not that way. This is Claire and Ross. You really... Miss Marple, could you... The King Alfred room. Thanks so much. Could you, Mr. Peel? Heavens, thanks. Oh, God, come on, Flock. Miss Rumley! Miss Rumley!
Professor Wanstead? Professor Wanstead? Telephone. The infirmary, sir.
Oh. Wanstead speaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could all sit down just for a moment, please. Thank you. Now then, I want you all to know that Miss Temple has regained consciousness briefly. So we can hope... I mean, I don't know if...
Anyway, as you know, we were to have carried on to Stratford this evening, but I'm afraid that'll be impossible now until Monday or Tuesday at least. The police are being very cooperative, but they will have to have statements from everyone, and there will be a certain amount of checking up to do.
You say Miss Temple asked specifically for me?
Yes, so I gather.
Oh, and how is she?
Well, they don't think she'll recover.
Oh, isn't that Anthea Bradbury Scott? I'm sorry for those Bradbury Scott girls. The world's changed, and they haven't changed with it. Elizabeth. Elizabeth.
Hmm.
Jane Marple. Yes, it's Jane Marple here. Verity. Ask them about Verity. The truth. The truth was buried with her.
There's been a change. Something's happened.
Yes, all right.
Now that she's dead, it'll mean an inquest, of course.
Yes. Yes, I suppose it will.
Tell me,
What?
Why did you really come on this tour?
For the reasons I gave.
Sorry, but, you know, put it this way. You don't strike me as particularly altruistic. Well, why should you pay any attention to the whims of a dead man?
Oh, I see. For the money. Didn't I say? Broadrib and Schuster have been instructed to pay me. And very well. Academics don't eat off gold plate, you know.
Professor?
Yes?
I was thinking, Professor, apart from this mysterious Archdeacon Brabazon, whom poor Miss Temple was trying to reach when she was murdered, I think there are 3 things to follow up. Now, Lionel, Michael Raphael?
Yes?
I think he should be found, don't you?
Yes, of course. I'll, mind you, according to Schuster, he's living like a tramp in London, but yes, I'll have a go. Will you be... If I go to London, I mean?
Oh, yes, Lionel, of course I will. Now, Professor.
At your service.
This young girl, Nora Brent, who disappeared at the time of the murder, I understand she lived in Abydusis. Well, I just wondered whether...
If I might do some research for you.
Well...
Willingly.
Hello. We came straight over when we heard. What a horrid thing.
Do we know how she is? Miss Temple died at 5 o'clock.
Oh, my God. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. We came over, actually, to say you'd be most welcome, of course, Miss Marple, to stay on at the Manor House as long as you like.
Oh, that's most kind of you. Are you sure I wouldn't be any trouble?
Not in the least.
Thank you.
That's settled. Good. We'll look forward to seeing you later this evening, then.
Thank you.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes. I'm quite sure. That's the third line of inquiry. Mr. Raphael intended me to go there to discover something. Well, I haven't discovered it. Perhaps I haven't asked the right question.
Bother it. I expect it's this close weather.
Verity.
Did you know her? I had no idea. You do mean Verity Hunt, I suppose.
I've no idea what I mean, I'm afraid. Poor Miss Temple said it before she died. Just that. Verity. Of course, it means the truth, but... Oh dear. Have I said something I shouldn't? I'm so sorry.
That's all right, Miss Marple. My sisters were extremely fond of her, that's all, and...
She was killed. Quite dreadfully. Murdered.
Anthea, for heaven's sake.
They found her body in a ditch. She was a girl we cared for. Very much. She lived here for a number of years. I was very fond of her. I didn't say that you... She was terribly fond of you. Her life should have been... Everything. Excuse me. God's sake, I didn't mean...
Oh, dear. We were all fond of Verity. But to Clotilde, she was like a daughter, so we never mention her unless we can help it. I believe I told you Michael Raphael was a bad lot. Well, it was rather more than that, I'm afraid. Assault, forgeries, trouble with local girls, stories of violence. And then a girl in the village disappeared. Nora Brent. She's never been found. Then Verity was murdered. Naturally, the police questioned Michael Raphael. The last time she was seen alive was in his car. We have no proof, of course, but... Anyway, her body was discovered 6 months later. Clotilde had to go and identify it. Verity had been strangled and her head beaten in. My sister has never got over it.
No, I'm sorry, madam. Mr. Pure checked out yesterday morning.
Thank you for your help.
Well, good morning, ladies. So, you're not going with the main party, then?
No, we're not.
No, we've agreed that this tragedy has made the whole idea of the tour seem rather futile. Or distasteful, actually.
Yes, I agree.
There's a memorial service for Miss Temple on Wednesday.
Is there? Oh, good. I shall go to that.
Yes, we'll stay on for that, and then we'll see. It's left us feeling very flat.
Quite.
Well,
better be getting on.
Quite so.
Mrs. Brent?
Yes?
My name's Wanstead, Home Office. Could I come in and have a word with you about your daughter?
Are you sure you don't want anything?
No, thank you, really, Mrs. Brent. I had a coffee at the hotel.
Oh, well, I'll just get myself an orange squash then. People said I spoiled her. Well, perhaps. Oh, you should have seen her as a kid. Little face and ringlets. Nora could turn her head, I can tell you. Never lost the art of that, she didn't. People said I should have watched her better after Keith walked out. Well, of course I could have done. Could have. But you can't run people's lives for them, can you? And if you don't have some fun when you're young...
Where do you think she is now?
What?
You sounded before as if you knew where you thought she might be now.
Oh, I know where she is, all right.
You do?
She's dead. That's what. Poor little cow. Must be. Oh, she'd go off. She'd always be off. Scare the lights out of me, but if it wasn't much good, she'd be back soon enough. It's when she was happy, it was worse. Sometimes she wouldn't be in touch with me for days, the little bint. But there'd always be the call sooner or later, so... Well, I didn't worry much at first. We knew each other, you see. I couldn't believe it. Not really. Not deep down. For weeks I couldn't. Then in the end I realised it would be nonsense not to. I mean, she would have been in touch somehow, something. Little soft cow knew what I was like. She would want to talk to me. No. She's dead and gone. Someone got her. Poor little...
Yes, I'm sorry.
Well, what was your interest then?
Another girl disappeared at the same time.
Oh, yes. The Hunt girl up at the manor house. Yes. Yes, she did. My Nora knew her, you know.
No, I didn't know.
Oh, yes. Miss Hunt took quite a shine to my Nora. Oh, she was an innocent. She liked to ask Nora things. She didn't have a mother, you see.
She had her guardians.
Oh, those two old maids. Not quite what I'd choose if I wanted to ask what to do with a man.
No, quite, if that's...
Well, of course. She was in love, wasn't she?
Was she?
Yes, with that chap Raphael up at the big house.
Do you think he had anything to do with Verity's death?
Oh, I don't say nothing about that. Are you sure you wouldn't like an orange squash?
Bye-bye, Mrs.
Bye-bye.
Watson.
Oh, dear.
Yes, dear?
Oh.
What is it?
Well, I make so many mistakes these days.
Oh, well, let's see if we can sort this one out, shall we?
Oh, well, if you could, yes, I've been extremely stupid. A parcel. You see, I send them clothing, pullovers and children's woolies, you see.
Send them to who, dear?
A charity. And I did it up. and I dressed it, and I had it sent off. And then when I was having my second cup, I do like a large cup of tea for breakfast, don't you?
Oh, yes.
I realised I'd sent it to the wrong address. I meant to send it to the London Dock Welfare Association. I'm staying up at the Manor House, you know, and I think Mrs. Glynn brought it in.
Oh, no, would that be Saturday?
Saturday? Oh, yes, yesterday.
Well, it wasn't Mrs. Glynn, you know, dear. It was Miss Anthea.
Who was it? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how very kind of her.
Now, let me see, what was it now? The East Ham... No, it was definitely East Ham. Women and Children's Clothing something. Appeal, I think.
Appeal, yes, that's it, Appeal. Yes, East Ham. Yes, the Reverend Matthews. Such a good family and such a very difficult mission. Yes. Oh, my goodness, what a memory.
I'm afraid the parcel's gone off, though.
Yes, well, thank you so much. You've relieved my mind. Thank you very much.
That's all right, my dear. Bye-bye now.
Raph could be anywhere his work takes him, couldn't he?
His work?
Yeah. Who are you?
Oh, a friend.
And you don't know what Raph does? Go on. Knock off.
Miss Marple, Broadrib. Telephone message. She has a small commission for us. She wants us to trace a parcel for her.
You can't go in there. I'm sorry, Mr. Broadrib. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Miss Wimpole. It's all right. Now, how about some tea?
Tea. Certainly. Tea.
What's going on, Broadrib?
I beg your pardon?
Listen. Someone. Some bloke sniffing around after me, asking questions. I don't like it. Tell him to lay off. All right! Now.
Well, just... What do you suppose he means?
I have no idea. I cannot conceive of anyone wishing to inquire after such an unsavory person.
Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet, O love, 'tis thou dost call. Thou wilt be our all in all. Amen.
I hope you don't mind my asking, but are you by any chance Archdeacon Brabazon?
Yes, I am.
I believe we once had an acquaintance in common, Mr. Raphael.
Yes, quite right. He died not long ago. Is that why you're here?
In a manner of speaking.
I believe I am here at his bidding, too. There seems no other explanation. I'd meant many times to return here from Australia. And suddenly there on my desk was an air ticket. The airline assured me there was no mistake. It was in my name. At the airport in London, another ticket was waiting for me to Abydusis. I arrived here to be greeted by this tragic news. And even that seemed stage-managed somehow.
Archdeacon, there's someone I'd like you to meet. There she is. Mr. Raphael's bloodhound, his avenging angel. She looks so harmless, doesn't she? Her camouflage is perfect because she is partly just what she seems, a gossipy old village lady. But her logic is ruthless, and her powers of synthesis formidable. And above all, she never lets go.
I look forward to meeting her. Verity, of course, I'd known since she was a child, and she was... Well, she was blessed with a quality of goodness and simplicity, which at times was quite unnerving.
Miss Temple described her as a shining girl.
Yes, that's exactly right, she was. She was. It was she who first came to me. She believed Michael would change, she said. I tried to explain that people hardly ever changed, not essentially. Her reply was simple. Did I not believe in the redemption of the individual? I can see her now. Her simplicity, her strength, her belief. I can tell you, I felt ashamed at the time, soiled by the world. And when I saw them together, I knew she was right. I'd advised many people who were about to marry. None were better suited than they were. They had a trust and understanding of each other, which was rare, very rare. Shining.
Mr. Raphael. Raff. Oh, you don't know him? Well, he's a sort of, well, I don't know, a sort of people's advocate. He'll face up to officials on behalf of some of these poor fellows who pass through our hands when they are consul populace. He's quite an educated chap, you know, considered a bit of a saint. Of course, I'm an official, so I don't see much of the saintly side. The Pharisees get the sharper side of his tongue, where donkeys and glummox and I don't know what.
Oh, Miss Marple, you're still here. Oh, good. Would you do us a favour and dine with us this evening?
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. I'd rather think I'm expected back at the Manor House.
Well, now that I call jolly unfair. They've had you to dinner every night. I bet they could stretch a point. Do join us. We've been having such an interesting time. Miss Barrow and I could walk you over to the Manor House after dinner.
Are you dining here tonight, Miss Marple?
Well, Miss Cook has very kindly offered me a place at her table. Well, you know, I don't think the Bradbury Scotts would mind. In fact, I think Mrs. Adams would be quite pleased not to have to provide for an extra person. Well, I'll telephone, shall I? And thank you so much. I do hope to join you.
And I shall drive you back to the Manor House.
Oh, thank you. I should be glad of that, yes.
Why are you dining with them?
Because I think that I may learn something.
Mrs. Adams. Oh, Mrs. Adams, I'm afraid we shall need a fourth cup. Miss Marple should be with us any moment.
And did you learn something?
Oh, yes.
Good night, Miss Marple.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, that was instructive.
Yes. Yes, it was.
I do think it was peculiar of Jane Marple not to dine with us.
Probably being polite. Trying not to make a nuisance of herself. She had ample opportunity to see her reduced to one servant.
There was rather more to it than that, I believe. She said she was hoping to learn something.
I wish she played bridge.
Being polite, Vinny, I expect.
Fed up with Bezique.
Will you stop fiddling with that wretched machine?
God! 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 Thank you, Professor.
Are you absolutely sure?
Oh, I shall be safe enough now.
Good. Ready? Yes.
So you're off tomorrow, Miss Marple?
Yes, I've achieved what I came for. My little commission.
Really? Commission? From whom?
From Mr. Raphael. I feel I can tell you now.
What was your commission?
Such a generous man. I'm sorry.
What did he ask you to do?
Well, he asked me, or rather, he relied upon me to use my small gifts in certain areas, and he spoke of justice. That justice rolled down like the water, and righteousness like an everlasting stream. Yes, good heavens. Do you know, I've just realized how much I've imagined Mr. Raphael's intentions in this matter, but I feel sure I'm right. Isn't it odd? It all started with that poor, delightful girl, Verity, your ward. When Mr. Raphael was dying, he realized he wanted justice done. He wanted her murderer brought to book at whatever cost. So he made some arrangements.
And do you know now who the murderer was?
Yes, I know now.
Well, I'm sure we'll all be glad when this business is cleared up.
Who is it?
It's a question of proof, the burden of proof. I dare say I shall be able to dig it up, but in the meantime...
Of course.
Tensing. How did you get in? Mrs. Adams said she'd put you out. Oh, you're soaking. Oh, come on. Mrs. Adams must have left a window open. We'd better go and check.
Yes. Well, it's late. I'll take this through. Would you like a milky drink, Miss Marple?
Good evening, Miss Bradbury Scott.
I saw your light on. I wondered...
If I had drunk my milky drink?
What?
I haven't, I'm afraid. I didn't think it'd be good for me. I think you know what I mean.
If you want some more milk, I'll go and get it for you.
I shouldn't drink it if you did.
What an extraordinary person you are. Is this a little foible of yours, or what?
Once upon a time, Miss Bradbury Scott, a young girl lived in this house. Well-loved, innocent, untouched. Too well-loved, too innocent, too untouched. So when a young man came to claim her, as you knew one day he must, her very innocence was the star which guided her to love him.
A miserable, depraved delinquent. I don't want to talk about this.
Whatever he was, you nurtured the girl who believed him redeemable.
She couldn't have. God knows what he must have said to her. My beautiful, splendid girl, she couldn't. She'd have realized.
But you never gave her the chance, did you? The strength of your love must have been frightening, Miss Bradbury Scott. How did you kill her?
What? Verity was found in a ditch with her head smashed. Do you think, loving that girl the way I loved her, do you think I could have done that to her?
No, of course not. Of course you couldn't.
Then what the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about Verity. Not Nora Brent, whom you battered to death and then identified as Verity when her body was found. What an act of sacrilege that must have been to your princess. Must have cost you dear, that. You put Verity to sleep just as she had woken to the beauty of life. She was trying to escape the servitude of your love. She wanted a normal woman's life. She wanted reality. You returned her to fairyland. And now...
And now?
She's safe now from any unsuitable princes. Sleeping Beauty lies in the ruins. And flowers grow round her.
Yes. Yes.
No, Miss Bradbury Scott. She's a rotted corpse, and there is no one to kiss her awake.
You foul old woman. You hag! You won't leave here alive.
I believe I shall.
So, it's over at last. Thank God. I'll go to my room now, if you don't mind.
I'm sure that will be quite all right.
You're sure?
Quite sure.
Oh, leave her alone. You can't help her now. Never been happy. Never. Even when she had Verity, she was terrified of losing her. She planted this in her memory. I wanted her to get rid of it, to try to help her to forget.
She would never have done that. This marks Verity's grave. That rather plain stone in the graveyard is where Nora Brent is buried. Oh, thank you, Lyle. Well done.
We'll be away now, Miss Marple.
Oh, goodbye. Goodbye, and thank you so much.
All a day's work, you know. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, Professor, I want you to meet my guardian angels. By courtesy of Mr. Raphael, Miss Cook and Miss Barrow have been my bodyguards. Most efficient.
Nice to have met you, Professor.
Miss Cook.
Goodbye, Professor.
Miss Barrow.
On your way then, Barrow.
The police have found this on Clotilde's desk from Elizabeth Temple.
Oh.
It confirms what you thought. It implicitly accuses Clotilde Bradbury Scott of Verity's murder. It's extraordinary. She offers to help her confess as if it was, I don't know, something quite everyday.
And it cost her her life. The man in the cloth cap and the sweater was Clotilde. Miss Temple obviously couldn't realize what danger such a letter would put her in.
So Jason Raphael's faith in his son is justified at last.
Oh, no, Professor. It wasn't like that at all. Mr. Raphael wanted justice for the dead girl, even if it meant the sacrifice of his son.
Do you think he'd considered that?
Oh, yes. I flatter myself that's why he chose me. He knew I wouldn't flinch, even if it meant sending Michael to the gallows. He called me Nemesis, you know, and he wasn't being entirely humorous.
Well, you found me. What do you want?
They know who murdered Verity.
Oh, yes, isn't it? What a paradise. Shouldn't we go, Professor?
No, I don't think so.
What are you doing?
Thank you for coming, Miss Marple. I'm Michael Raphael.
Oh, how do you do?
Professor?
Hello, Andre.
Oh, Lionel, dear. Well done.
Oh, well, you know.
This was in another envelope addressed to me. It's for you.
For me?
Undoubtedly.
from your father. Well, well.
Thank you, Miss Marple, my nemesis. Shall we meet again? Yours, Jason Raphael.